Hey, what's going on, guys? We have some breaking news. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic is off of UFC 295 in a couple weeks. Jon Jones pulled out with an injury. He tore his pectoral muscle, and now we are getting Sergei Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall for the interim heavyweight title, which will now be the co-main event because Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira for the undisputed light heavyweight title will now be elevated to the main event. Now, honestly, this is crazy news. This is shocking news. And this might be a bit of a hot take, but I'm happy. I'm very, very happy. I did not want to see Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic at all. Stipe Miocic hasn't fought in damn near 3 years, and he got folded like a lawn chair last time out. So it wasn't a fight that I wanted to see. The fight that should have been made was Jon Jones versus Sergei Pavlovich from the beginning. And we're going to talk about what happens next for Jon Jones. I'm not happy Jon Jones pulled out. Don't get me wrong. I would much prefer Stipe to have pulled out. Maybe get Pavlovich or Aspinall to step in, even though I don't think Jones would take that fight on short notice because he's very smart and he wants the game plan for his opponent. But this fight between Tom Aspinall and Sergei Pavlovich, I think it's an outright banger. I think it's better than Jones versus Stipe. And I know, consensus light heavyweight GOAT, consensus heavyweight GOAT. Stipe hasn't fought in 3 years, so I really don't care. You know, that's an Uncle Rico moment talking about Stipe being the GOAT because he hasn't been the GOAT in 3 or 4 years at this point. But Tom Aspinall versus Sergei Pavlovich is going to be a lot of fun. Now, to be completely fair, Tom Aspinall doesn't necessarily deserve a title shot because he's coming off a 1-fight win streak and he beat Marcin Tybura in his last fight. But that being said, the loss against Curtis Blaydes, it was kind of a fluke. It was kind of a fluke. He got injured. He threw a kick. He did get injured. Maybe Curtis Blaydes caused it. Maybe he didn't. But we didn't get to see that fight play out. And Tom Aspinall has been a surging contender. And on top of that, I don't care all that much because there's nobody really getting skipped over. Now, Stipe Miocic, you can make a case, Stipe's getting skipped over. Stipe lost his last fight, and he's been inactive. So Tom Aspinall deserves it more than Stipe. Who else are you going to give it to? Cyril Gane? He just fought Jon Jones earlier this year and lost. He got a win over Spivak. Spivak's equivalent to Tybura, basically. So there's really nobody getting skipped over. So I have no problem with Tom Aspinall getting a title shot. Sergei Pavlovich deserved a title shot more than anyone in the division right now. And this is a banger heavyweight matchup. I mean, you have Tom Aspinall, who's looked so good. He's looked so good. Now, granted, I know he doesn't have the best resume. I know he lost to Curtis Blaydes, but had that fight actually played out, I would have favored Tom Aspinall to win that fight. He went out there and dominated Alexander Volkov, which that win has aged rather well. He dominated Sergei Spivak, which, okay, decent. I mean, Cyril Gane did the same thing. But at the same time, he's fighting an absolute killer in Sergei Pavlovich. An absolute killer who's literally on a 6-fight win streak, and not only a 6-fight win streak, but a 6-fight first-round knockout streak. This is a compelling matchup. Pavlovich hasn't lost since his UFC debut against Alistair Overeem, where he got out-grappled. Tom Aspinall, super well-rounded, has good wrestling, has good jiu-jitsu. I'm very curious how this fight plays out. I'm wondering, though, was Stipe offered either one of these fights? That's the real question here. Was Stipe offered to stay in against Pavlovich? Because Pavlovich would have been the #1 contender. Did Stipe turn that down? Did he say, you know what, I'll stick to answering phones at the fire department. I'm going to wait for Jon Jones. Because Jon Jones is supposedly out for 8 months. So that puts him back, summer of 2024? At this point, Jon Jones and Stipe just need to retire, honestly. I mean, this is crazy to even say. I want to see Jon Jones back in there, but at this point, they might as well both retire. 8 months? I wonder what they're going to do. This is an interim title fight. I'm curious. I really want to get the answer. Did Stipe turn down Pavlovich? Because I suspect he probably did. And I wonder, does that mean is the UFC going to try to book Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic for next year? I'm reacting to this in real time. I just found out the news. I was getting ready to go to sleep, and all of a sudden my phone started blowing up. Discord notifications, Instagram messages. I'm like, oh shit, I got to go make a video real quick. So I jumped out of bed to make this video for you guys. So I'm really starting to react to this in real time. I'm wondering what the UFC's plan is. So this is an interim heavyweight title fight. So you would suspect the winner of Pavlovich versus Aspinall will fight Jon Jones next year, next summer, to unify the belts. But does the UFC still going to try to make Jones versus Miocic? Because Jones showed no interest in fighting guys like Pavlovich and Aspinall. If that's the case, I love that. If that's the case that Aspinall and Pavlovich, the winner, will fight Jon Jones in summer of 2024, this is the best news I could have ever gotten. This is the best news. Now, if the plan is to make Jones versus Stipe next year, meanwhile you have an interim heavyweight champion floating out there, I hate that. I absolutely hate that. That makes absolutely no sense. Why does Stipe get a title fight? It doesn't make any sense. He doesn't deserve a title fight. So I hope the winner of Pavlovich versus Aspinall fights Jones next, even if it's not until summer of next year. The heavyweight division isn't particularly stacked by any means. So if we get this fight between Pavlovich and Aspinall, which is a fight most of us wanted anyway after they announced Jones versus Stipe. And the winner fights Jon Jones. Jon Jones versus Pavlovich. Jon Jones versus Aspinall. Both of those are banger fights. I hope they happen in 2024. I hope they happen. I hope we don't see the dead corpse of Stipe Miocic steal a fight away from them. Meanwhile, we got a weird interim heavyweight champion floating out there. I hope that doesn't happen by any means. But it's crazy. Jon Jones tore his pec. They had a video of him training. You can look it up. I retweeted it on Twitter. Dana White posted the video. But apparently he was training wrestling, tore his pectoral muscle. And I'm wondering how this is going to affect him going forward, because he's getting up there in age. He's 36 years old. He's heading towards his 40s at this point. And we know the heavier division you are in, usually the longer you can stick around. But injuries shorten guys' careers left and right. So I hope Jon Jones does return. I know I said, he should just retire at this point. But that was because I'm saying he didn't have any interest in it. I'm not fighting Pavlovich. I'm not fighting Aspinall. I just want Stipe Miocic, who's been sitting on the sidelines. It didn't make any sense. But I hope this doesn't affect him. I really wanted to see an active Jon Jones. I talk about it all the time. We have to appreciate fighters when they're in a period of time where they're just on the top of their game. And we don't realize that that snap of a finger, they're gone. That happened with Jon Jones almost with Dominic Reyes. But either way, no matter what happens from here on out, I think it happened with Jones there. Because we were used to seeing an active Jon Jones at that point. And now he's been out for 3 years, came back, fought Cyril Gane. And now he's going to be out from the Cyril Gane fight to this next fight. Is going to be a year and a half, basically. Because he fought, March of this year? Yeah, he fought March of 2023. He's not going to be fighting until July. He'll probably fight International Fight Week of next year. That's crazy. So Jon Jones, even if he fights then, let's say he fights one of these guys, he's probably not going to be around for much longer. So think about how quick that happened. Right under your nose it happened. It's crazy to even think of that. But as far as Sergei Pavlovich, Tom Aspinall, I love this fight. I think it makes the most sense in the UFC heavyweight division. You look at the rankings right now, Sergei's number 2. I don't know why he's ranked behind Cyril Gane. That's absolutely criminal. Who is making these rankings? Number 4 is Tom Aspinall. Again, I get it. Tom Aspinall, he TKO'd Marcin Tybura in his last fight. I mean, it was kind of a fight to get Tom Aspinall back in there, get the ring rust off of him because he suffered a catastrophic injury against Curtis Blades. And then on top of that, he had that nasty knee injury. They wheeled him out on the world's smallest chair. So who knows? He could have suffered injury from being wheeled out by that medical staff. Must have been the same doctor from UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi. But this fight's a banger. I'm very curious. We keep speculating whether or not Pavlovich's grappling has gotten better, because he got absolutely dominated by Alistair Overeem in the grappling. And I picked Curtis Blades to beat Pavlovich because I thought Curtis Blades would be able to out-grapple him. But we haven't really seen it. I mean, we didn't see it in any of the fights he's fought. Maurice Green, Shamil Abdurakhimov, Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa, and Curtis Blades ain't shot a takedown on him in the whole fight. It's only lasted 1 round. And he's been knocking dudes dead. But Tom Aspinall has jiu-jitsu, has submission ability, super athletic, super strong, and has wrestling. That makes that fight so compelling. And I honestly haven't even thought about who I'm picking yet. I don't know who I'm picking. I'm trying to think of an early prediction for you guys, but I'm really trying to think because Tom Aspinall's the more complete fighter. But Sergei Pavlovich has nasty KO power, nasty killer instinct, good hands, but he's super one-dimensional. He hasn't even thrown a kick really in the UFC. I don't remember. I added it up. I went and watched all his fights. They're all first-round finishes. And I counted the number of kicks he's thrown. I think he threw 1 kick in the entirety of his UFC career. Maybe not even any. I think it might have been none, to be quite honest. So he really just is a boxer. He's a boxer. He doesn't really do much outside of throw his hands. So it's a very tough fight to pick. And especially when you're looking at Sergei Pavlovich on this long winning streak, first-round KOs. And you got Tom Aspinall, win against Marcin Tybura in his last fight. But early prediction, and this may change. I'm going to have to go and watch some footage. I'm going Tom Aspinall. I think Tom Aspinall gets it done by finish. I think he's going to get it done. I like Tom Aspinall to win this fight. I just think he's more athletic. I think he's more versatile. He's 30 years old. How old's Pavlovich? Pavlovich, 31 years old. So they're both in their prime. But Pavlovich doesn't have great head movement. I just think Tom Aspinall's more athletic, has more tools in the toolbox. Meanwhile, Pavlovich has to catch you and KO you and finish you, basically. He doesn't have like that Ngannou shut you off type power, but he hurts you and then finishes you brutally. So I think Tom Aspinall gets it done. I'll have an official prediction in a couple weeks because this fight's right around the corner. And that's crazy. This fight's literally a couple weeks away. What is it, 2 weeks from this Saturday? I was actually going to make a video, if you've been watching my streams, I was going to make a video saying, I hope the main events of UFC 295 and 296 get canceled. I didn't have a chance to make that video because I did not want to see Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. I hated that fight. Absolutely hated that fight. It made no sense. In my opinion, based on the layout of the heavyweight division. So I'm very happy Stipe's off the card. But I wonder if he turned down this fight. I suspect the UFC offered Stipe Miocic Sergei Pavlovich. That's what I suspect happened. And I think Stipe probably turned it down. And I hope, and I know I talked about this earlier, I hope the UFC doesn't plan on doing Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic when Jones returns, unless they're stripping him of the belt and elevating the winner of this to the undisputed title. But I doubt they would do that. I don't think they would do that. So, I mean, this heavyweight division is in a very weird spot right now. And, I wonder, does Jon Jones return the same? Think about this. He's been sitting out since February of, 2020 against Dominic Reyes in a fight he arguably lost. Then he comes back, he only fights Cyril Gane for 2 minutes, and it really doesn't, he chokes him out in literally 2 minutes and 5 seconds, I think it was. So he really didn't shake off the ring rust in that fight. Now he injures himself. He's already been out since March of this year, so he's already been out 8 months. Now he's going to be out another 8 months, so he's going to be out a year and a half. So you're going to be looking at a scenario from February of 2020 to now July of 2024. Jon Jones has been in the cage for 2 minutes, a little over 2 minutes, and it's against Cyril Gane, who has literally no grappling. I wonder what happens to the heavyweight division next year. If the UFC books Jones versus Stipe again, I'm going to be disgusted. I'm going to be absolutely disgusted. How old's Stipe now? And he's going to be what? He's going to sit out. He's going to be literally out for over 3 years. If Stipe gets the title fight, we absolutely riot. If Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic happens in July of 2024, Stipe will have been out for 3.5 years. This could be the end of Stipe Miocic's career. I'm just thinking of this right now. Because I don't think Stipe's coming back and fighting anyone. Maybe they'll make a fight early next year. Interim Stipe versus one of these guys for the interim belt. But if Stipe turned it down, my guess is Stipe has now fallen out of favor with the UFC. But if Jon Jones pushes for that fight because it's a legacy fight for him, maybe they still make it, but I hope they don't make it. But this is your new co-main event for UFC 295. This is your new co-main event. It seems like fights are falling off left and right. And now they've elevated Yuri Prohaska versus Alex Pereira to the main event, which will be for the undisputed light heavyweight title. So honestly, in my opinion, UFC 295 has gotten better. I think it's gotten better. I prefer seeing Pavlovich versus Aspinall, which was a fight that was speculated about for a little bit. I prefer that fight over Jones versus Stipe. The ideal scenario would have been Jones versus Pavlovich, but this is the next best thing. I hate that Jones is going to be out for so long. Who knows? He might suffer another injury, another setback. He's going to be gone. This could literally be the end of Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic's career, especially Stipe Miocic. I mean, imagine sitting out for 3.5 years. Who's going to be compelled to watch Jones versus Stipe when he's literally sat out for 3.5 years? I believe it's March of 2021. Yeah, so literally 3.5 years if he sits out and waits for Jones into the summer. And then what does Sergei Pavlovich or Tom Aspinall do in the meantime? I'm very curious what they would do. Would they defend the interim belt? Or are they just going to wait it out to then fight the winner of that fight at the end of 2024? We have a lot of questions that we need answered, but Jon Jones tore his pectoral muscle wrestling in the gym, and now he's out. I wonder what would have happened had Stipe pulled out, because I suspect Jon Jones wouldn't have took Pavlovich or Aspinall on short notice, but I suspect he would have maybe told the UFC, look, give me a couple more months, I'll fight him early next year. He just wouldn't have wanted to take the fight on short notice. I think he still probably would have taken the fight, but I think Stipe probably turned it down, and you know how Dana White feels about that type of stuff. So Dana White could be vindictive to Stipe Miocic. Maybe he's going to give him the fight anyway. But I'm very curious to see next time Dana White's in front of the press, what is the plan for the heavyweight division? Is the plan for Jones to fight the interim champion? Because that's historically how it works. The undisputed champion's injured, you have an interim title fight, and then they unify the belts when they're both ready. So that should be number one question asked by the MMA media next time they're in front of Dana White. What is the plan for the heavyweight title? But ultimately, I love this fight. I love this as a co-main event. I think UFC 295 got better with this fight announcement. And honestly, I may switch to Pavlovich by the time the fight comes around. I got to think about it some more. I literally just found out this news. I hit record within, I think, 5 minutes after I found out this news. So I'm literally reacting to it in real time. This is a good fight. This is a banger of a heavyweight matchup. And I hope the heavyweight division really starts to get moving. You have Jalton Almeida making his way up the division right now. Tom Aspinall has been a prospect we've had our eyes on for a while. Sergei Pavlovich has been absolute brutalizing guys. Made his way to the top of the division, finally getting a title fight. We're having an interim title fight, interim heavyweight title fight, co-main event, UFC 295. Let me know who you're picking down in the comments. Are you disappointed by this news? Are you happy by this news? Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.